Let's get it. Let's talk that NFC West analysis. Let's get into it, man.
Authentic the real, no fake. Authentic yeah, the real, no fake.
All right. Once again, thank you for tuning in. This is Crunch Time with the Authentic Take. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It is very much appreciated. And now let's get into these topics. All right. Let's go. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna go down, the teams and do storylines and stuff like that. So, if y'all have any gripes, make sure you put it in the comments. Always love to hear it. Always love the banter. So do not be shy. But let's get into it. Let's start with my San Francisco 49ers. The injury bug stuff right now is kind of just getting out of hand, you know. Um, but let's fall in line here. Okay, can Brock Purdy take another step as the franchise quarterback? Honestly, the rumblings that I'm hearing is he's had the best training camp that he has had, since he's become a pro. So I think that's definitely a bright spot. He has many accomplishments already as a 49er, and he is the franchise, getting that big ass contract. And I've heard in training camp, he's only like thrown one pick. And I think he's listening to criticism. People were saying he was kind of like floating the ball a little bit, but all of a sudden, every day after that kind of criticism was made public, he's zipping the ball everywhere and only has, in all the scrimmages, only has one um, interception. And he's kind of known for in training camp and stuff like that, he just kind of lets the interceptions fly. So to get it out of his system, but he's being way more precise. And I think there's kind of a underlying thing with Kyle Shanahan's accident and his recuperation that Brock is quiet, but he's got to take that lead. And I think he's gonna do good this year. You got to cut him slack on he was injured last year, tried to rush back, got re-injured, and it was kind of shaky. But then he did come back and he was the Brock that we know. And I think with a full season under his belt, with hopefully weapons not injured, I think he's going to take that step as being the 49ers' future franchise quarterback. Because a lot of people actually say that he could be on the hot seat. This could be a make or break year for Brock Purdy. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, next. Brandon Ayuk situation and his future with the team. I've kind of beat this to death, and what I really feel is, as far as the best situation for Brandon Ayuk is to get reinstated, play with the Niners for one season, rebuild his reputation because, you know, the NFL is a forgiving kind of place and they always love a comeback story. So, I think if he swallows his pride and he does that, that's would be the best for Brandon Ayuk. But as far as the 49ers, I think they're over with. They're done with him, and he just made too many personal shots to hire up guys. And I think they've obviously wiped their hands clean, being very stubborn for the fact that if someone wants to trade for him, they'll trade, but they haven't released him. And that's their only other option as far as right now. So that's what I see with him. And I don't see no reconciliation with these guys. So as far as 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, I think that's a thing of the past, even though the distraction will be with the 49ers, whether Brandon is on the team or not. So Christian McCaffrey's health and workload. That's the big question. And honestly, right now, I think he's the most shocking guy that has not been injured so far. Let's knock on wood. I mean, um, and I think that's good. I think that's a credit to CMC, getting his movement coach. Like I said before, he hired Conor McGregor and his primes movement coach to just, help everything that goes along with his joints and movement to maybe stay away from, any re-injury. And from what I've been hearing, critics say at training camp is that he looks like he has that old bounce back. So that would be something incredible for the 49ers to take advantage of. But we can't work him into the ground. We got, Kalon Black. I'm sure Jordan James will be back here eventually. We just picked up Khalil Herbert. Let's just kind of, CMC is going to be the guy. But let's kind of back and forth do running back by committee. I think that would work as far as an advantage for the 49ers. So how the offensive line holds up. That is big for the season, obviously. And, I hear from OTAs to training camp that the main guys have really taken the time to lose a few extra pounds to get their techniques down right. And I think the most underrated thing about the 49ers this year will be the strengthened offensive line, especially since there wasn't really any acquisitions for the offensive line except for I think Lamar, I forget his last name, Lamar Jones. I think Lamar Jones or Lamar Brown out of the Miami Dolphins. So I think they'll be very surprising this year. Nick Bosa leading the defense. Well, right now, everybody at training camp is kind of like got their eyebrows up, like what's going on? Because um, the last 2 days, Nick Bosa has been out with soreness, and that just sounds like precaution to me. But he looks like he's in incredible shape. I doubt he has re-injury, and they're just playing it safe. And I think he could really come back to form. I think he has things to prove. Nick Bosa does his own thing. It's quiet, but I think he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because people don't think that he could get back to what he was. And we'll just have to see about that. Will the defense return to elite status? I'm going to say, as a realist, no. But I like what we've done, the additions of, Hobbs, Jack Jones, Dre Greenlaw, um, Osa. We've really gone out, and I like that we didn't sit still. And I think our defensive front will be good. Definitely our linebacker core is just, you can see in training camp they got the dog in them right now. Fred Warner's out here trying to injure every one of our key players we need for the season. Hope he calms down a little bit, but I love the aggression. And our secondary is kind of where I'm having the most concern. So we'll leave it at that. Sorry for the interruption. I have kids, it's just what it is. But the last thing, as far as the storylines with the 49ers, can Shile, can Kyle Shanahan get the team back to the Super Bowl? And I know I'm going to seem biased, but there's certain things that happen in a season where it's not expected, and like as far as like a Super Bowl run, but I just kind of feel like the Ayuk stuff, and then now the adversity with the Niners, dealing with the drama and injury of their coach Kyle Shanahan in that car accident. I think that they're gonna want to like try their best, and it's gonna motivate them thinking about all the stuff they've been through in the off season and over the years. And I think they're really gonna push it over the top. And I think, as long as Kyle Shanahan's head wasn't whooshed to where he has no memory, he's still that genius. And I think he will get the 49ers over the top. So, um, and some questions to ask. Are the 49ers still the team to beat? I don't think so. As far as the NFC West goes, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be the two other teams. I mean, Seahawks are the Super Bowl champions, and Rams, they really re-engaged in their defense, and they got a solid offense with, potential Hall of Famer quarterback Matt Stafford. So I gotta, put them, ahead as far as the division. Is the championship window still open for the 49ers? My honest opinion is I think this might be the last year that the window is open. This to me just feels like that last chance. You get Mike Evans, you get a couple other receivers that will up your offensive game. You still got CMC. He's getting up there in age, and age is becoming a thing around the whole Niners. Sooner or later, it's going to crap out. And I think that we have one solid good year left for the championship window. Which players need to break out for the 49ers? Something big for me is CMC got to get back to form. If CMC, has this breakout year that we're like used to seeing, not overly receiving, but he becomes that runner again, that will be a very underestimated breakout for the 49ers. As far as someone else, I say the linebacker core. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw need to get back to being those demons, Rocksteady and Bebop, out there in the linebacking core to bring that toughness back to the 49ers. Because when Dre Greenlaw left, I feel like we were still respected because of Fred Warner and who he is. But Dre Greenlaw coming back, the aggression is here, the dogs are back, and they need to really set the tone, especially in week one. So now let's switch to the defending Super Bowl champions, Seattle Seahawks. So their biggest storylines: Sam Darnold's first season after the Super Bowl leading the offense. And, Niners taught him everything. So, no, I'm just kidding. But I think, he did a good job last year in the spots that I thought he was going to fail. He really didn't. So if I'm a Seahawk fan, I really have the faith in Sam Darnold. And I would think, why couldn't he do it again? So I don't think he has any problem leading, the offense. As far as defense improvements, they really didn't make any as far as I know, but their defense is really their go-to and what struck fear in everybody last year and demolished the 49ers. So I think they really got to ride that back to possibly winning the division and getting back to the Super Bowl. And my honest opinion is let me leave that for the end. Okay. Offensive development. I don't think that they really have any this year because I feel like that there's going to be some definite questions when they fill the void of Kenneth Walker III. I do not know why they let him go away because, Charbonnet is a third down back. Is he going to be just taking the whole, you know, uh, brunt of everything? Because I don't think they signed a running back or anything. So I think they're going to have, some holes that they didn't have last year. So um, can Sam Darnold continue to revive his career? I think so. I think he's got, quality skills. He's proven to himself and the Seahawks that he could lead the Seahawks to a championship. So I think his confidence builds, and um, I think he could possibly have a good regular season, at least to start off. Can the Seahawks repeat? That's my thing. Um, I don't think that they will. And I think everybody's like, oh, Seattle is just so daunted and they're just like the mountaintop. But I don't look at them that way. The previous season, they were 10-7. And um, while, Mike McDonald is like, he's kind of like basically the genius, just like Kyle Shanahan is, you know, um, you got to worry about Sam Darnold if he's going to have that same confidence he did last year. And then what kind of run game are you going to have? Like, I see them definitely as a playoff contender, but, I don't know about repeating. That's a stretch, at least as we start where we're barely hitting the preseason right now. Um, but yeah, so let's move on to the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, biggest storylines. Sean McVay's ability to keep the Rams competitive. I think this is why they're always in the thick of stuff, even if they don't like have a crazy, incredible um, offense and they need to get guys. They end up getting guys, and you know, Sean McVay comes from the Kyle Shanahan tree, so he's got the smarts to make something with nothing. But he's stacked right now, so just he's probably gonna be incredible this year. And I even though he's a rival, I have no shortness of faith that McVay will make the LA Rams crazy competitive this year. Matthew Stafford's age and durability. Last year, that was kind of a question in training camp, and look what he did. Was one game away from the Super Bowl, and he's one of the most respected quarterbacks at his age, even not at his age, in the NFL, and got me a lot of fantasy points last year. Um, but I don't think his age and durability are a problem. Everybody went crazy when the Rams drafted Ty Simpson, but I think we all know that, you know, he has nothing to worry about, and I think he still leads them to like a prosperous season this year. Defensive star power led by Myles Garrett. Not only Myles Garrett, we got to remember that, Aaron Donald has not signed or unretired yet, but he just worked out for the Rams this week. So I don't know what to think about that. But as far as Myles Garrett, like, this is like adding Durant to your team or something, man. Like, crazy good superstar, crazy good defender, sack record haver. Like, I don't know what else I could say. This is a guy that you don't want to see. The only kind of comfort I have as an opposer is that my team has Trent Williams. Like, any other offensive line, I would be shook. But Yeah, it's a massive acquisition that they got, and he is, you know, to me projected right now, I would say Rams are number one in the NFC West just by getting Miles Garrett. Young offensive weapons developing. They have, a little bit of a young core, but those guys just need to be like the 3 and 4 guys, receivers and stuff like that. Even Kyron Williams, I think he kind of had a inconsistent year, and I think he needs to, kind of just have a full fledged aggressive year if the Rams want to be successful. And um, as far as receivers, Puka Nakua right now is going through his thing, but he's negotiating a extension right now. Who knows if that gets done? But he's your superstar. And oh yeah, you just happen to have Devonte Adams too. So, you know, I think all their weapons, yeah, they some of them are young, but they got enough veteran isms over there to balance that out to be, a strong offensive core. And obviously, can they challenge for the division? Like I said, to me, before even playing a game, I would put Rams number one. Um, and that's saying something when they're kind of put over, the Super Bowl champions, the Seahawks. So I definitely think they're front runners for the division as we speak. And that's coming from a Niners fan. Who said I wasn't a realist? But anyway, questions to ask. Are the Rams being overlooked? I don't think they're being overlooked. I mean, I don't think they can be overlooked at all with making that big move. I mean, those big couple moves, McDuffie and stuff, um, Watson, Miles Garrett. I think everybody knows that they're coming for the crown, and someone's got to try to knock them out of the way. Is this just like a fringe contender? No, I think if they're in the playoffs, everybody's scared of the LA Rams, honestly. I mean, even just what they did last year, they were in the NFC Championship. So, how much does Miles Garrett change this defense? He completely changes it. That's why you could give up a Jared Verse in this trade. So, Miles Garrett, it's just like it's like when the Niners got Charles Haley back in the day. Or it's like, the Packers getting Micah Parsons. It's just, if you could ever add a monster or a superstar onto your line or onto your defense, it's a game changer. And that's exactly what Miles Garrett is. But now, let's change to none other than the Arizona Cardinals. So, biggest storylines. This is definitely the biggest for me. Is Marvin Harrison Jr.'s development into a superstar. I don't know about that. As far as Marvin Harrison Jr., I hope he straightens his crap out and actually stays in the league, because even during the regular season last year, and I would always joke in my football group chat, I'd be like, dude, this guy cannot catch shit. Like, it's crazy. And I think we all just go, hey, that's Marvin Harrison's kid. Of course, like, he's got it, but he is obviously struggling. It might be something like some mental, like, blockage or something. But let's see how he turns out this year, because if there's any success coming out of Arizona, it's got to be with Marvin Harrison Jr. Um, Jacoby Brissett's consistency. You know, he's always been a prolific, backup, but I like what he could do. I like Jacoby Brissett. I liked him a couple of years ago when he was with the Browns, kind of leading them and stuff. I think he has skills, and it just sucks that the Cardinals are basically, the most talented team in their division. They're in the toughest division, and Jacoby, I don't know if he'll be up to the task for that. It's a real mountain to climb, and I don't know if he got it. Um, Building a winning culture. All I can really say about that, because it just seems like Arizona, the Cardinals, they just kind of always be making wrong decisions. I got to say their best decision was, well, two of their best decisions, drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. and probably getting rid of Kyler Murray, because it just wasn't working. Um, and I mean their biggest thing to start building a winning culture is, I think, drafting Jeremiah Love, and you got to put him in there, see what he's gonna do, and I think you got to ride his coattail to just knock out some wins and really build from there. And as far as questions to ask, is Marvin Harrison already a top 10 receiver? Hell no. Like I said earlier, he's just dealing with stuff, and he's just got to tighten his stuff up. I don't know why he's dropping so many. Um, I don't know why he's dropping so many balls in camp right now. To me, Wilson is the number one receiver right now. I mean, I mean, he's probably number two, but their big body tight end. He's definitely the number one option on there. So Marvin is kind of number three right now. So he's definitely not top 10 receiver. Can Arizona surprise the division? I don't know what surprised me. Like, surprised by winning it? Nah. Surprised by maybe getting like 8 or 9 wins? I don't know if they're there yet. I think they need to build up a little bit, and see maybe if you could surprise some people with Jeremiah Love. Maybe he's that dynamic that he could really push you over the top. Even though I don't know if he's starting, because James Conner is coming back, so I don't know if he's fully healed, but he's gonna want his top spot back. So sorry, Cardinals, but okay. Division wide topics. Let's go on this. What team has the best quarterback? I want to say Brock, but just on tenure and how long he's been doing it, I'll go with Matt Stafford. I think you know, I think that's a safe bet. And these are just, I guess, hot takes. Which team has the best head coach? Obviously, I'm gonna do a tie on this between Kyle and Sean McVay. Which team has the most pressure in 2026? Man, I'm just gonna go with the LA Rams, just because Super Bowl appearance is the expectation. When you go out and you get Watson, McDuffie, you get Miles Garrett, you get three, you know, big, important defenders. I think you're definitely got the most pressure and expectations right now. Biggest bust candidate in the division. Um, Damn, that is a good. Um, I'm just gonna go with um Marvin Harrison Jr. because all those drops he has, it just kind of boggles my mind. I just can't believe that's happening to him right now, and um, he is the one that stands out to me as like the possible biggest bust because he is struggling beyond belief in camp right now. Biggest breakout player in the division this year. Um, that's a hard one. Um, I'm gonna go on a long shot one here that, as a Niner fan, I hope is true. I'm thinking Mike Evans. I think he's where he wants to be. Finally, I think he's with a respected quarterback. No shade at Baker, but I think he's finally where he wants to be in a respected franchise. They're probably more respected than the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I think a lot of people are just writing him off as old, but I feel like he will have, a good dominant year for the 49ers. Most overrated team. Um, I'm gonna say Seahawks because me, I might be by myself when I say this, but I really feel like the Seahawks um, had a fluke season. Like, respect them for having that season, but they're the closest to anybody else to just falling right back off. And losing Kenneth Walker III, I think is going to be bigger than people realize. And they were 10-7 the year before last and didn't make the playoffs. Maybe they did. I forget. But anyway, I always thought 10-7 was like they should have been better than that. But let's just see. I think they're the most overrated right now. Most underrated team. I'm going to say my 49ers just because, if somehow we could get out of this injury bug bubble that we're in right now, I think that's the only knock besides the Niners being old is that, we got unlimited injuries. So if we get injuries right, our roster is pretty formidable to, anybody. Which team misses expectations? I'm going to say Rams. I'm just going to say that because, everybody thinks it's just going to be instant. They got all these acquisitions in the offseason, and I think they got problems too. I don't think Puka Nakua is that stable. I think Devontae is getting older. Kyron Williams, I think he's a little soft. He needs to prove himself this year. The defense looks solid, but I think they're gonna undershoot their expectations a little bit. But sorry, took a little pause. Um, but that's what I'm thinking about this whole NFC, you know, West, such a hard division. Every team is just rock solid right now. Um, and I'm hoping my 49ers could pull it out, but it's going to be a tough season and every game counts. And just let me know, all the realists out there, where you think your team is going to actually land. Don't just give me that, oh, my Rams, they're going to be number one. My Seahawks were the champs. Da, 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 da. Give me a real opinion where you think everybody's going to land. And I'm looking forward to hearing back from you guys. Um, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot, helps the channel. And this has been Crunch Time with the Authentic Take. Till next time, I'm out of here.